everyone. Welcome to Uptown Studios Live. I'm Tina Reynolds, and I am here today with Lizzie Carroll. She is our fabulous word generator.
Yeah, it's a lot like Google. I just typed them for you.
Yeah, you said a narrative Nelly.
Yeah, narrative Nelly.
You've had virtual words analyst. You had, how many had we? I mean, we go through these really fun titles. You've had several.
I also had a Soch and Peppa shaker. That was my first one. A little too clever. No one understood it.
Nobody understood it. It was a little too, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. So today we're going to be talking about words and how they impact any campaign. The biggest thing about a campaign is first you want to attract them visually, attract your audience visually, but the words matter. Words matter. Where did I hear that before? Words matter.
I think I told it to you.
I think I've heard it way before I knew you. In fact, I did a campaign in 2009 about Words Matter, an activism campaign.
Oh, wow.
Words matter. So, but they do, and they matter in your marketing. And we wanted to walk you through an example that we've been working on for several years. We just got into social media with California Student Aid Commission, and we're doing a statewide social media campaign. But the sweet thing is that we're really tracking the results. So that we know what works and what doesn't, and we quickly take down the things that don't work and do more of the things that are working. So talk about what you do here at Uptown Studios, and then we'll go into the campaign.
Okay, so as a copywriter, that's usually the title I tell people, and I like to say on any given day, since I'm the only copywriter at Uptown Studios, I am both the junior or the senior, depending on how well my performance is. So right. I handle anything with words, so that's if we need a script written, if we need to write a social media post, the words that will go in the graphic for a social media post, campaign messaging, brand messaging, tagline for a brand, all the way to even like things like today, like I wrote like the social media post caption that will go along with this, or I help people write their bios for our website. Pretty much if it has words, I probably helped someone write it, wrote it myself, or at least proofread it.
Or researched it and wrote it yourself, yeah. Or it helped the client to write it, right? It's it's all of that. I mean, because we need help from everybody, and then you take all those wonderful words and make them clever, witty, meaningful, compelling, romantic.
Right? yeah, heavy on the romance. You can't get away from that one. But
heavy on the romance. It's like we should brand ourselves as the romantic marketers.
Well, we already use red everywhere. It would be a very seamless transition. So I think it would work out well.
It would be easy. Yeah. So the romance part is like, I love the way you write, Lizzie.
Oh, thank you. And I love writing for Uptown, especially all of the clients that we have, because a lot of the things that they do, I mean, it's not as easy as like selling a product that's very visual. They kind of have an inherent value to them. Like food is easy. People love food, but trying to communicate the meaning of a nonprofit or an education startup or what you get out of working with a personal tax advisor, it's a little bit harder to articulate those things and not make them sound uninteresting. Well, and because of that, it's a fun challenge.
Well, and we do human-centered design, which influences the words that we use. And what we know is that it has to be easy, fun, and popular. It has to be easy to do. It has to look like fun, and it has to make you more popular. So when we're writing, we know that if we're writing for a nonprofit, let's say we're writing for an anti-meth campaign. If you're writing for it, you have to be hopeful and inspirational and motivating, that people can do it. You can do it. Try it again. We've done a lot of tobacco cessation work, and it always is, I know that you started again. You can do it. Try again. Try quitting again.
So yeah, and when you say fun, it doesn't necessarily mean like skipping and jumping fun. I think you can take that pretty broadly, like emphasis on the positive. Every social change campaign that we do, it's taking something that is very difficult and trying to find the positive aspect. And that doesn't mean that like homelessness can be cured, not positive like that. More so just like the experience of the person that you're talking to, you're looking to motivate them in a positive way, as opposed to highlighting their pain points, which a lot of traditional marketing does. Like, we're not the sham wow guy. Are your floors dirty? You know, like, you don't start with the part that's unhappy to someone.
The woman that smokes it, talk like this. It's like, we don't want to do those.
You don't, no scaring, no, all of those tactics. There's countless research that other marketing firms have done, and that lots of psychology studies have done, that shows while those things are more memorable, they do very little to actually change people's behavior and change their opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're into this positive. So I don't want to run out of time. Let's go to the PowerPoint that we have, and we'll walk you through this campaign that we did for California Student Aid Commission on their media ads.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So these ones was for a brief, we only had about a full month to do this particular effort. So it has already passed and concluded. So this was specifically how we did message testing for California Student Aid Commission for social media ads that were on Facebook. They were on, I believe, Instagram, and we also did some on Twitter. Twitter is a lot harder to do ads for, so I'm going to mainly talk about using Facebook's platform, because Facebook and Instagram use the same ad platform.
Yeah. Okay.
So I took these directly from the social media plan that we had laid out initially when we had our kickoff meeting. So I'm just going to read through them quickly so you can get an idea of this was what we set out to do. We needed to directly increase the number of California student FAFSA and CADAA applications received by March 2nd. So basically,
so FAFSA is the federal granting procedure that low-income students can apply for federal money, and then the other one is for the California money. And there's a point.
Well, that one's for the Dreamers, so it's California Dreamers Act specifically. Yeah. So it's not just state student.
So there's money now for students that are going to community college, trade schools, or four-year colleges, and it can go as high as $18,000 a year. That is free, no payback. The California is really geared towards getting as many people into community college, trade schools, and four-year colleges as possible. And they're really, I mean, it's a hard form to fill out, but there's help. All right.
Yeah. Thank you. So that was our baseline. We needed to increase the number of people who were applying, and we needed to do it specifically by a deadline of March 2nd, because that was when early admissions was going to conclude and they were going to roll into their second round of applications. So in addition to that, we also needed to increase the number of registrations to CSACs, Cash for College webinars. And these webinars basically helped students learn how to fill out the FAFSA and how to fill out the CADA applications. So they were really, really close in goals here, but still slightly separate. One was driving traffic to CSAC's website. One was driving traffic to FAFSA. And lastly, we also wanted to drive the target audience to visit CSAC's website for more information about Cal Grant opportunities. So
all of those drives that we're driving people to the website, we can track all of that. And that's where we got the data that we could report back on how many, if we place one ad, how many clicks we got, because we're tracking it on the website.
Those are called conversions. So you create conversion paths depending on what page you're trying to drive people towards. So a lot of times people will use like a thank you page as a conversion, because someone has to have inputted information first to get to that thank you page. So doing that is you create more high-level conversions, because you need to have someone gotten to a certain spot and you need to know they took the action you wanted to. They didn't just get there and leave. So it's helpful to define those goals.
And we can track each of those, so that how many went to the site and looked, it drove them there, and then how many clicked on the action that we wanted. We can track those too. So that gives us this balance of like, well, we lost 82% of our clicks to the site and only got 18% that clicked on the next thing. So then we can work on the style of the ads that we're doing to improve it. So we're always looking at those balances.
Exactly. So with our goals established, we also now needed to create our key messages. And key messages don't necessarily mean the exact phrases that someone would read on an ad. Usually I kind of use them as like, these are the guiding points I need to get across, and I need to create multiple versions that get across the same message. So for example, this was one of the key messages we developed. Need assistance in filling out your FAFSA or CATA? You and your family can register for a free Cash for College statewide webinar at URL where you can receive help in applying. So remember, key messages, that's not exactly what someone's going to read, but they'll read very, very close variations on those messages. It's the point we need to get
that main
across.
point. Yes, getting that main point across to anybody that's reading the ad, and then doing a lot of variations so that we can find out which variation is working the best.
Mm-hmm. Even things as close to like using the word free. When we did a lot of human-centered design for CSAC, people sometimes felt the way that the word free was presented made it so that it wasn't legitimate and it would make them less likely to click on something. So, you know, keeping in mind the variations, if we use free or low cost or at no cost, like different ways of saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Next one.
So from those key messages, we also are now going to look at our target audience and develop what are called brand personas. And basically a persona is kind of how it sounds. You just make up a fake person that embodies the target audience that you're looking for. We had to make a total of 4 different audiences, and this is just an example of one of them. Based on the target audience that CSAC had, one of those audiences was parents of high school students. Pretty logical. You are very invested in your child's education. Most parents of high school students are looking for this information. So we have our parent, Melissa. They are 43 years old. Their language is predominantly English. They are located in San Mateo County. Knowing their career is helpful just because you get an idea of their base income. So we said that Melissa was an accountant. She was a parent with a base income of about $60,000 a year. And their most used social network was Facebook and LinkedIn. So from that persona, we know where to advertise. We have a little bit of maybe Melissa's interests. If she lives in a particular area, maybe she would click on something that was San Mateo County specific. And we know that she's an accountant. She's very numbers focused, or they are very numbers focused. We don't know if Melissa is a woman. We want to make sure that, we want to make sure, that they are, we know who we're talking to. And sometimes making all of those factors and putting a name to a target audience helps you create things for them because you can see them a little clearer in your mind. Well, and sometimes we
could even go further on the persona. Like she's a single mother, parent of 2 teenagers. One is graduating senior, and she's looking for assistance for college. Doesn't have a savings account for college, so she needs some help. So all of that, it can go further with each of the personas so that when we're creating an ad, it can say something like, have a kid ready for college? Here's some help for you.
Exactly. And getting more detailed really in the long run helps a lot because you can even use things as like, what generation are they from? And you can look up like marketing to Gen Xers, marketing to female Gen Xers. You know, you can go so far with those personas. They really help kind of bring something to life. But anyway, so we know we're talking to Melissa for at least one of these 4 ad sets. So with our personas in mind, then we go to create our ads. So we had 4 ads per audiences, and we try to create a variety of visual styles and different messages that still are those key messages, but different ones so we can test which ones work. So we ended up with a total of 15 static image ads and 4 video ads. And those video ads were animations that we had done that also said those key messages. It was about the Cash for College. It was about applying for FAFSA. And I think there was also one that was specifically about the Dreamers Act.
And then we can test. So we have these still images that we're testing color and fonts and the number of words. We have animated ads that what we know on social media is that something that moves is going to attract more attention than a still image, but a still image is number 2. So those 2 styles are really high viewing. We designed it to be these 2 styles of high viewing ads.
Yeah, and if you look, I think on the next slide we have, exactly. So right here you can see kind of a good snapshot of the variation. So we're testing out different colors. Some images have people in them. Some of them are just animated graphics. And what was kind of fun about this also, if you take a second to go to our website, uptownstudios.net/portfolio, you can go look and see one of our designers had just finished totally refreshing CSAC's logo suite, which was like, I think a total of 24 logos when you take into consideration their company logo and a logo for every single grant and program that they had. So this was the first time that we could bring this refreshed brand to life, utilizing all of their brand colors. So I think it was a fun exercise for our design team too, to see like what ways could we bring this brand to life and what would be most successful.
And we can test what colors are more effective. What fonts, what sizes, what did that logo in the lower right with the dollar signs work better than the one with the pink background that says attention students? So we're really able to see what style is attracting more attention to the on the visual end.
Exactly. And then similarly, what style in combination with what words, but I'll get more into that in a second. So let me work backwards here. So we've made our persona, we created our ads, and now week one, what we do is we run all of these ads with no changes to them, meaning the way that we had the images approved by the client and the way that the text was approved, they're just set to, because we want to establish baseline data of how well they perform without any tweaks or changes. So at the end of our first week, and remember, we only had 4 weeks to run this whole campaign. So this first week is a lot of time that we're spending to do a lot of our work up front. We're testing to see what are we going to do for these last 3 to maximize our budget here. Yeah. So the first ad, actually, I think these images are on the next slide, but I'll talk about them here for a second. So the first ad that you'll see in the next slide had 0 conversions, which is not good. So we knew right away that particular style is not showing well to the target audience. But and then we looked at the ad.
A conversion is when you click on the ad. So
so it's different things. So clicking on the ad is engaging with it, but the conversion that we had set up was that we wanted people, remember, to go sign up for that FAFSA or to go sign up for the Cash for College webinar. So specifically, it was that maybe they'd gotten all the way up to that website but didn't sign up. Whatever it was, they didn't complete their conversion that we are trying to track. So in addition to not getting any, we knew that one wasn't doing well, but now we need to see, okay, well, what can we switch it out with? What is doing well? So we looked at what was doing best and paused everything that was not doing as well. So that meant out of 4 ads per audience, 2 out of each 4 ads was going to the same landing page. So we paused the lower performing out of the 2 so that each landing page still had at least 1 ad going to it, but it was the best performing out of the 2. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. At Uptown, we don't really do math here, so it bends my mind to think about that. But yeah, so
what it is, we had a variety of things. Well, here's a good example. The one on the left didn't have any conversions. The one on the right had all the conversions. So guess what we do? We stop the one on the left, and we do more that are similar to the one on the right.
And a lot of this too, because if we're taking into consideration the budget, this particular client, because they're a much larger organization, had a good amount of money to work with both in ad spend and in creative. But a lot of the times the clients that we work with, they're working off of small budgets or grants or money that they've been given to do a very specific purpose. So we want to make sure we do the most with what they have. So once we start doing this testing, we don't necessarily create more creative for them. We just start seeing what's working the best and we start putting it everywhere.
Placing it more. If it works now, it's going to work in more places, because this is we know who the persona is, we know who we're attracting, we're going for it. So that's the way that we start the test. And it uses what's not, and then place more of this ad and take this one off totally.
And when you make quite a, because I think like I said, we made a total of 15 static images. That's a lot to work with. You can see pretty quickly the variety of what isn't working and what isn't, and removing them and subbing them out really just starts, you can see the conversion rate increase, and you can see the cost per conversion, meaning how much money did it literally take to get one Facebook user to click on the button we wanted them to go down. So it's really fun to watch those numbers decrease. It's like playing slots. You just watch them.
Do you have some of the costs per ad?
I do. So that one that wasn't doing well, at one point, its cost per click was, let me see here. Actually, it was $0 because it was paused so early. But one of the most expensive that was similarly not doing well, it was almost $100 per conversion. So that means that Facebook was charging us, meaning the client, $100 for one person to click on that ad.
Yeah, and that's
so much money.
That's so much money. We don't want to do that. So that's why we test, so that we're not spending all of our money on these expensive, low results clicks. And what was the lowest The lowest cost. Let's break
The
it down.
lowest.
Again, this is only 3 months that we had total from beginning.
Well, actually, these ads, they only ran for a full month, but we had 3 months
For a
to
month.
create the campaign.
Yes,
Yeah.
3
So
months to
the lowest
create.
was below $10. It got to $9
Oh,
per
that's
cost. So
good.
like, yeah, literally 10% of that total cost at one point. If you're doing well, you can really bring it down. And I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that $100 is too expensive. Depending on your goals and your budget,
Right.
if spending $100 equals the value that you get out of that person doing it, totally. But for this client, way too much money. We could get it so much lower.
Yeah. Okay, next slide.
Actually, I'm sorry. Can you bop back to that last one just once more? I think there was one more thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah. So just in that first week, changing out this example ad where it says questions and then answered, switching it to that California still has money, it became immediately $30 less for a single conversion after this change. So we immediately followed suit with every single other campaign. We're like, what ones aren't doing well? And we're going to replace them with this exact image because it was our best performing out of all of them.
And it's like what we're defining with this is that we know that the blue and gold colors, and I think we're going to talk about that in a minute. Are we? Okay. Yeah. I won't.
You're getting ahead. Your design eye is too good. So okay, week 1 is concluded, and now we're already at the halfway mark since we only had a full month. So after 2 weeks, what we wanted to do is we've narrowed in on what graphically is performing best, and we kind of have an idea of what messages are performing well, but we still need to make sure that we can increase as many conversions as possible. So we have 2 kind of goals here: figuring out what's the best message to show, and now showing it as many times. So what we want to do is create a retargeting audience. And that means basically anybody who has already engaged with the ad but didn't convert. So they didn't enter their email address, or they didn't take the action we wanted. We want Facebook to show them our ad again in the hopes that then they'll take the action we want them to. So for Facebook to create a retargeting audience, you need at least 1,000 clicks on the website you're trying to get to. And thankfully, because the California Student Aid Commission website has such a large presence, it was very easy. We actually had built up over 20,000 conversions to the website already within those first 2 weeks. So we were doing really good. So it was really easy to make that retargeting audience. And we just chose our best performing ad, which is that guy you see there, California Still Has Money for Students, and just started ticking it on every single targeting ad, and it created a fantastic click-through rate above 1%, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot. And it also created the lowest cost per click so far.
Lowest cost, the most clicks, and when you think of 1% in a state like California, with all pushing it out to all the high school students and potential college students, it was a lot of numbers, and it was way more than they've ever had before. So let's
and on Facebook, when you create those audiences, they're going to 1 million, 2 million people that supposedly fall within the audience factors that you define. So 1% of that is still, again, I said we don't do math here. If you can do the math at home, you can figure it out. It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. It's hundreds of thousands of people.
So you're doing pretty good. And then, so for those next 2 weeks, we just kept them running and just used our best performing ads, are retargeted, and just saw how many conversions can we get till the end. And pretty much at the end, with our ads concluded, like Tina already mentioned, some clear creative themes become very, very obvious. So our best performing ads were all blue and gold with large white text and animated graphics. None of the ads that performed with a below $10 cost per conversion were images, or they were different colors, or they had a different phrase than this California Still Has Money. All of those other ones were at about the $20 to $15 range within there, maybe $25. So this combination in particular was what really spoke to our audience. And what's interesting, actually, if you remember from the first big chunk of ads, there was an ad that had a bunch of dollar signs in it. So still getting, deadline for $, if you see that bottom right corner. Very similar to California Still Has Money, but just, it just looks different. Visually, you see dollar signs, you see the word deadline. For some reason, that is not, maybe it's negative to the audience when they read it quickly, but seeing California Still Has Money, so being positive about something, not negative, deadline, it was the one that performed the best. And it's kind of funny to see just the slight tweaks in a message, because you're still getting the same point across. Money is here, deadline for money. California still has money for you. But there's a clear winner between the two.
Well, and this is the stuff that really sparks Lizzie's job. It's like having
Yeah.
having a campaign like this and really having the time and the intention to track everything. It's like, well, what's working? Let's look, and make it better, make it better. What about? And so
Yeah,
that,
well, and I want to give credit where credit's due. Brennan, my other teammate on the marketing team, is the mastermind behind the strategy of doing this, but helping him with the messages and getting creative together. I feel like I'm the bridge between a lot of these different ones. So my job mainly is we had a key message. How can I articulate that in a huge variety of ways so that these themes become really evident the farther the ads go?
yes. Okay, so how many slides do we have left? Do we
I
have
think just one more.
one more? Okay, let's do the one more, and then we can just talk in general.
And basically, I was just going to say, these are some things to keep in mind for yourself. So a lot of what we looked at across the thing is look at your average cost per click and your cost per conversion. Were they higher or lower than what you had said you wanted to? If you get to the end, you've done all of your message testing and they were a lot higher, it means you still didn't quite find the right message or you haven't quite found the right audience. And you need to do a lot more work in the testing phase before you can really set them off. If they were lower, great, you've done a fantastic job. That means keep going. You've really done a good job of finding your audience. You've done a good job of message testing. And whatever you do in the future, you want to just continue to test messages that are really similar to your biggest winners. And then lastly, was there any outliers that skewed your average? That first one that we showed, the one that was the questions answered, that was, I think, one of the most expensive cost per conversions. And we paused that immediately so we could remove that out of our averages here and see overall, the average cost per conversion was only about $28 and compared. So you had 15 ads with videos, it's still pretty good for the budget that we had available to us. So you can remove some of those huge outliers to kind of see at the end, how well did we do? And for us, for CSAC, the end result was that this campaign lessened the gap of FAFSA and CATA non-enrollment by 5 and 10%. And I know those percent numbers, they're huge.
That's a huge number in the whole state of California. This is a successful campaign, and it only ran for 1 month. So now we know when we're talking to them again about the next rollout, we have all of this information at our access, so that we're going to start ahead of the game.
Yeah, and like I said, and with those two ones that we showed at the end that both had the phrase California still has money, now if we were to do this again for a similar goal or maybe a slightly different one, I would start with that phrase and only make variations of that phrase. Yes, and I mean literally like California still has money for you, for your parents. Yeah. Parents, California has your money, like
California
staying on that main
college. California has money to help you through college, right?
Yes, staying on that main one.
Yeah.
There's a good
and making sure that we're using blue and gold.
Yeah, everywhere. And which is interesting to see too, because I think that is probably their primary brand colors, but we had a little those oranges and those pinks. So that helps our design team know too, like those are maybe going to stay as our pop colors. We really need to stay with our primary ones, but the designers did a great job. The primary colors of the brand were the primary performers out of all of the options that we had available.
Now we have 3 minutes left, and I want to talk about your ads and how you're doing our viewers. If you have an ad campaign, it is always best to start with 2 ads that are different, like we did, the white one with the hands, and then we had the California has money for you. Those 2, you start with 2 ads because your market isn't all of California. Your market is probably an area like the greater Sacramento area. You can start with a budget of $50 a week and run them on Facebook, or you have to define where your audience is living, spending most of their time. But you can find which ads are working, and then you can throw in a second ad. If this one's working better, then you can bring in a new one and see if it works better than that one. So the beginning, you're really putting a low amount of money towards your ads and seeing what's working with your target audience and really watching, because it's going to make a difference in your end result.
Yeah, a massive difference. And one too, especially, I mean, you can make spreadsheets, you can do lots of different things that'll help you visually see those themes. Like Brennan did a great job. He made a huge spreadsheet. You could see those colors pop immediately. You could tell the blue ones were all out of all of them, that were the ones that did the best. But yeah, running ads, really, you're not running them. You are always testing them. Even when you get to the end, Yeah, you want to see what's
If you
performing
find the
best.
best ad, you're still going to be just testing because you don't know when the audience is going to shift or when they're going to get tired of seeing that ad. So
Yeah, because they'll fatigue, or even, like you can then change your audience factors, like get a little closer to people who are more likely to convert, but keep the same creative. I mean, you can do so many things. Just start writing out little paths to yourself, like test creative with these ones, test copy with these ones, test copy and
and you can
creative
do
with
it
these
for a
ones.
low amount of money. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars.
No.
I mean, $50 a week, you can really start getting some test results on your ads at that.
Yeah,
At that
even less than that. I ideally want to do about $10 a day on whatever you're running, but Facebook is a tool. They like your money. They're going to help it go very far so that you
They're
are more
going to help
likely
you
to give
spend
them
your money.
more of it. Yeah.
They're
Yeah. So
always
you can
eager
do
to
a
help
lot.
you spend. Your ad did really well. Do you want to put more money into it?
Which
So
it does a good job though. Like advertising on Twitter, other platforms, not as easy, but Facebook, they help you out a lot.
yeah. So everyone, thank you for joining us. Lizzie, thank you for all your creative energy and your fabulous words. I think
Of
this
course.
was such a success. And everyone, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next Tuesday at 11. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.